I mean, we have got great testimonies in history of men and women who have prayed consistently for individuals. And 50, 60 years later, they come to know the Lord.
Yeah, I know.
But at the same time, Pascal's wager says, look, if you can't believe, then do the things that help you with that belief. Like, what did Pascal say? Go to Mass, pray.
Give
Give
worship. Right.
Yeah.
Give offerings.
Do all of those things. And because we all know that the Word of God says if we draw near to Him, He's going to draw near to us. And that's where I would go with them. Look, if you think I'm an idiot for believing this, I'm going to take my chances because it has infinite benefits on the other side.
Right.
And why I love you enough to tell you that Christ is the truth and you ought to try it. And if you can't come to that belief, just go through the motions and see what happens. Because I believe that if you draw near to God, He is going to draw near to you.
Right.
This is Misunderstood Subculture Correspondent Tech Roo, and you are listening to Mojo 50 Radio. You're listening to a kangaroo. No, really, you are. Stay fuzzy.
Matthew Williams for worldoutreach.org.
Late this summer, maybe early fall, my family and I are going to be moving permanently to Brazil, to a state called Bahia, over to the west side. You know, I've gotten the chance to do short-term stuff out there for over a decade now. You know, when the Bible says that the fruit is white unto harvest, it's unreal to see what happens in some of these places. And what's amazing is seeing where God is starting to work with these people already, because so many of them, their hearts are wide open to this. They want to know, they want to hear, they want to be a part of what God is doing. The advance has only gone so far because there's nobody there to really tell them. You know, it's huge, it's amazing, and it's sad to see where the work is in many cases stalling just because of the restraints on the locals for time. They were hoping to open up those gates and get as many people as possible to be discipled so that they can help continue opening these gates for people, that they can meet King Jesus, that they can meet the King of Glory in their lives. We're already seeing where God is doing huge things in these neighborhoods, in these communities, to reach people with the gospel. I mean, it's astounding. But like I said, right now it's stalling. You know, what we do with this, we can't do it alone. We can't do it without you. The number one thing is always prayer. We always need prayer, because at the end of the day, it's God who makes this succeed or not succeed. And so prayer is huge. And we ask all of you to be a part of praying for this. And you know, the idea is that we're working to tell people about Jesus. And so we rely on people like you. And so if God puts that on your heart, say, hey, I want to support what they're doing here. I want to be a part of this, beyond prayer. I want to be an answer to prayer. You can do that by going to www.worldoutreach.org/350. World Outreach, all the gifts are tax deductible and whatnot. It's possible to set up one-time gifts, but it's also possible to set up monthly recurring gifts as well. And those monthly recurring gifts, that is our biggest prayer request right now, because it's those small monthly donations that keep us there. You know, whatever God has given you to be gracious with, it's those small recurring gifts that keep us being able to stay there month after month, year after year, to reach these villages that don't know Jesus, that don't have anybody else sharing the gospel with them, discipling them.
You can support Matthew and his family by going to worldoutreach.org/350.
That is something that I believe is solid in His Word, that if we seek Him, we will find Him. Now,
yes.
That doesn't mean that you get down on your knees, as an atheist, and you give a half-hearted prayer like, reveal yourself, you're really there, Lord. That's not gonna hack it, okay?
Yeah, but He does that sometimes, Patrick.
Yes, He does. All right.
Yes, He does.
But going through those motions And here's I think a big thing that you all know, the parable of the soils, right?
Yes.
I love to garden. All right. In fact, my garden's just starting to pop right now. When I moved up here, the soil was absolute crap. Okay. You could grow tumbleweeds. That was about it. Okay. And we have these awful other plants up here called rabbit grass and other things that just weed killer that makes them grow. Okay. And it's really bad soil. All right. Now, seed that falls on the bad soil has no chance. So, what does a good and responsible farmer do? He amends the soil.
Yep.
Yes.
You know what? Get those rocks out of there. Add to it. Do what's necessary to make it good soil.
That
And
would be
that's what
that
we're
would
called
be
to do with people,
discipling your fellow Christians, by the
Yep.
way.
Yeah. And let's face it, if you're following Pascal's wager and you're in unbelief and you're going, yeah, okay, I'm going to commit to 6 months going to, church every Sunday. I'm going to, give to charity. I'm going to, pray, and I'm going to 6 months. What you're going to do is all of a sudden you're going to run up with a new group of people.
Yeah.
And these people aren't going to be the type that you ridiculed in your head for however many years. They're going to be thoughtful people. They're going to be loving people. They're going to be people that you're going to all of a sudden find that they care about you on a different level than other people you've met. And all of those things, like I said, they chip away at the heart. And in 6 months, that's going to be a really hard habit to drop. They're going to have to have been so hardened when they went into it and so unfaithful in their walk for 6 months, because otherwise something's going to sprout. The Lord's going to meet them, and he's going to meet them how he always does, not through, some supernatural lightning strike, but through the people in his body. He's going to send us there to, our hands, our feet, our time, our efforts, and our hearts. And that gets through to a person far more than a blind wager or whatever. The wager works, but again, that's an on-off switch on whether somebody's going to agree to it or not.
Yeah.
So that's the portion of the wager right there to where you got the winning side if God actually does exist. Now, for the people that are atheists, let's go ahead and do some discussion on what the losing side would be if we put our chips on God and he actually does not exist. Is it really a losing side?
Right.
Well, no, you lived a life where you loved your neighbors.
Yeah.
You lived a life where you cared for others, and you honestly tried to do your part as a good person, let's say, and you lived in harmony. I mean, it's simple. What a Christian is peace, and what you can't have peace without love. So, I mean, you love people. That part of the wager, everybody benefits from it, whether you're saved or not.
Yep.
If you try to, you're going to come to caring for others, period.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to learn discipline. You're going to learn self-control. I mean, the finance building principles from Dave Ramsey are biblically based. An honest head first dive into all of these things, even if God doesn't exist according to the wager, is still going to cause benefit all the way around for your own material gains, your own emotional and spiritual health, the benefit of the people around you, and even the benefit to society at that point. The more people that lean that way, the better everything is. That's the whole the whole reason why that, the Tocqueville, that concept was so impressive about our country starting out. The America in those times was great because Americans were good.
Yep. And that's the whole reason to it. I mean, every person, even the people who were supposedly deists of the founding fathers, they were raised, they learned how to read and everything on Bibles and hymnals. Yeah. That's where they got their education. Then their education spread out, if they were voracious readers, to everything else. But that was their base of understanding everything. And of course, you have people who grow up and they realize that and they rebel against it. But it still sticks with them. And the fact that your whole society runs on those principles, there was a time 150 years ago that if a politician really had a scandal, and we're talking like some of the scandals that like European royalty did and just, either flaunted it or, did their best to hide it, but everybody knew about it, churches would not stop speaking out on that person. It'd almost be like John the Baptist screaming at Herod for sleeping with his brother's wife. And nowadays we don't do that. The churches are gelded in that manner. But yeah, that's a big part of what kept America on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way. If you have a guy doing research, right, and somebody comes over with a boatload of money and says, I kind of want you to find this in your research, right? And you're an atheist. Now, you don't believe there's God, that there's any moral accountability on your death, nothing. You just go from a small itty-bitty professor in a pond now to all of a sudden national stage, tons of money, book deals, whatever, versus having that same person believe in God deeply and understand that God will hold them accountable to their actions and their choices. Who's going to have the more moral fiber to tell that person, yeah, I can't do that? Person who knows they've only got like another 40, 50 years to live, that's it, all right? They're worm food? Or the person that really thinks that, I'm going to have to explain myself in front of God at the end of this line.
That's right.
Who's going to be more honest and truthful in their research?
Yeah. Good point.
I know people hate to hear that, but I mean, that's just true. Okay.
No, that's absolutely true. It's the way of the world, unfortunately. Yep. People have their own agenda.
People don't understand that atheism promotes what we classically all call evil, because nobody likes selfishness. Nobody likes, I'm going to get ahead no matter what. That the whole creed of life is do as you will with regard to the policeman around the corner.
Well, that's because the flesh is never satisfied.
Yeah. Ever, yeah.
Which begs the question for discussion right here. If God did not exist, that's what you put your ideas on, and that's what ended up being happening at the end of this wager. What do you really win? Because that is going to be up in the air for who knows, because most likely if you're going to behave as God does not exist, even if he didn't exist, those behaviors have been proven over time with experience to lead people down in the direction that is far from benefit for them.
So it ends up, that if you wager on God, whether he exists or not, you end up bolstering the things that built civilization.
Yeah.
That builds unity, that builds community, that builds trust, that builds on the truth. Now, if you don't wager on God, then you are actually siding with the things that destroy civilization, all right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Selfishness, disunity,
chaos,
divisions, chaos. That's just, hey, man, I'm out to get mine, and that's it. Now, no atheist wants to think of themselves like that. They want to think of themselves as moral, but again, you don't got no moral grounding.
Well,
what do you base your morals on?
if you listen to the responses to Pascal's wager from the atheist mindset, their arguments on the things that you would miss out on are all things that would be considered either moral borderline all the way down to morally repugnant from the Christian point of view. And you might miss out on those instantaneous experiences, but where do those experiences lead you? So even if you make the bit that God doesn't exist and you supposedly win, you really don't win.
Yeah, and you don't know you win.
As a matter of fact, if you bet on God,